Hi, I completed my viewings of the films of 2022 last night with Elvis, Baz Luhrmann's dramatization of the life of Elvis Presley, the King. um, it takes him from childhood living in poverty to his death at the age of 42 in 1977, at all points in between, skating over the story of his life in an hour and 40 minutes when that is clearly not enough time to do it even remotely justice. Um, I haven't seen a Baz Luhrmann film in 20 years. I watched his version of Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge not long after they came out. I found Moulin Rouge almost intolerable. I had to stop the film after 20 minutes and go for a walk because the onslaught of noise, of light, of frenzied editing, of seizure inducing production was more than I could cope with. And he has shown no progress as a filmmaker in the last 20 years. Elvis has exactly all the same problems that his previous films have, which is that it's an endless barrage of superficial detail and no depth. The film is portrayed from the point of view of Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, who, as is now well known, essentially leached off him for his entire career, squeezed money out of him in every possible way, and maintained absolute control over his career. Um, and although obviously this is awful, Parker is portrayed in the film as an almost panto like ghoulish villain, as someone who is almost comically evil. And as a result, I found Tom Hanks's performance to be completely misjudged and completely wanting. Um, by turns, Elvis is portrayed by Austin Butler as being an uneducated but skilled uh, boy made good. Um, Very gifted, very talented, obviously, but completely without any flaws other than those induced in him by Parker. I found Austin Butler's performance as Elvis to be an incredible feat of technical work. The voice, the dancing, the, the stances, the facial expressions, everything is perfectly studied and replicated, and it is an extraordinary achievement in impersonation. But it's not a performance because there's no depth to it. You never get to learn anything about Elvis the man, only Elvis the icon. And we already know about Elvis the icon. The film has so much ground to cover with his extraordinary life, his youth, his breaking through into show business, his early career, and the controversy of his stage performances, going into the army, coming out of the army, his time in the 60s, churning out crappy musicals, his comeback, his Vegas years, his decline and collapse of his health. There is so much ground you can cover. There is so much to talk about. In 2 hours and 40 minutes, it skirts only the most superficial whistle stop tour of his life. It's like being sped through a seaside exhibition, a waxworks display, on a faulty travelator that's going through it twice as fast as it should. Um, I don't like Baz Luhrmann's films. I find that he has no trust in his audience. Everything is, you're being told all the time. I coined a phrase for it, dictatorial maximalism. Everything is dialed up to 110%, and the audience is never given a chance to actually develop their own thoughts and feelings. You are being told what to think and feel at every single second of the film. Luhrmann has absolutely no trust in his audience of any kind. And I found it to be an almost grotesque act of self indulgence that he has three separate credits on the script, as story writer and then co writer with two other people in different partnerships. And his name is all over the movie, far more than Elvis's is. Um, I don't think he's a good filmmaker. I think that he's just an excessive filmmaker whose total lack of nuance or subtlety is mistaken for ability. I find his films almost uniformly unwatchable. I've only seen three, but from what I've heard, the others are all of a piece. I found Elvis to be exactly as terrible as I was expecting. Butler's performance, as I say, it's an impersonation, a very, very good impersonation, but still an impersonation with no depth. And it's the same with Tom Hanks, who's swathered with um, makeup, looking like a character from the League of Gentlemen who's contracted mumps. And the result is a cartoon, a caricature. Um, the excess of every aspect of the film's production means that you can never care about what's happening because nothing ever seems to be taking place on the planet Earth. Even with the musical numbers, I never started tapping my foot, even though it's usually Elvis's voice and Butler can perfectly replicate his dancing style, his performance style, everything perfectly studied. There's no human engagement. It's not real. I never cared. Um, I find the praise the film has had baffling, as I have the praise for all of Lerman's films. He's one of the worst filmmakers in the industry today because he has absolutely no idea how to tell a coherent human story. I didn't like the film in any way, and it's only because I've seen some real shit this year that it's not in my bottom five. The only reason I watched this is because it was nominated for Oscars. I could have easily watched some Netflix make-weight crap to make up the numbers for the 52 films that I watch each year as new releases. But instead, I had to sit through this, and I'm not happy about it.